Okay, hello and welcome everybody. You are tuning into another episode of Real Israelis, Real Lives, a series where we have been speaking to a very broad cross-section of Israelis who are Anglo-English speakers who make up a wide variety of society here in Israel today. And our guest for today is Shawna Goodman. Shawna, thank you so much for joining us here this evening live in Israel.
It's nice to be here.
Shawna, you are originally a Montrealer, today chef, community organizer, volunteer, philanthropist. Could you share with our listeners a little bit about who you are, how you grew up, and how you came to Israel?
Wow, that's a big question.
In 2 minutes.
In 2 minutes, I feel like I should lie down. So who am I? I'm Shawna Goodman. I'm married to Todd Stone, who I met at Camp Ramah many, many moons ago. And we have 3 sons, Zachary, Andrew, and Nathaniel. And I grew up in Montreal in Hampstead, and I went to the Shar Shemaim Synagogue. I got married at the Shar Shemaim Synagogue, and it was part of my shigra, my routine, Saturday mornings with my Shabbat friends and Junior Kong. And I was gifted the ultimate Jewish life. I went to Jewish People School, Bialik. I went to summer camp, and I lived in a family that celebrated Shabbat every Friday. It was a dinner party every week that was infused with gratitude and family and always guests. And I had a beautiful childhood, a beautiful 52 years of life. I've only been in Israel now for 9 years with our family. And we live in a beautiful suburb of Ra'anana. And I'm still very much a Montrealer, very proud to be Canadian. And I feel moving to Israel was additive to the Jewish identity that was given to my siblings and from my parents, who are incredibly active and committed to Jewish life wherever they were. And so this has been another chapter of my life that I continue to foster the relations in Canada very deeply. Our kids go to Camp Ramah in Canada. And at the same time, I'm building summer camps in Camp Ramah in Israel. So I straddle both worlds. I'm blessed with both communities. And now more than ever, Jewish peoplehood means so much more to me than ever.
Thank you. Thank you. A follow-up question. After the childhood and the early adult years that you had in Montreal, with what would be the beauty of an amazing Montreal Jewish community and being very much a part of that, what made you make that decision as a family, of course, to leave and to come to Israel and build a life for yourself here in Israel?
Not an easy decision to make, but I am married to a big Zionist who had this insatiable itch to be part of the story.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a dream. And I was brought up to be a very active Jewish woman in the diaspora and frequent trips to Israel, leading them, joining them, a mission junkie, as you would say.
Mm-hmm.
But my husband, Todd, just really wanted to be part of the story. And I took a leap. We came for a year because that's about as much as I was ready to leave Montreal, because as I said, we stacked the deck. We were blessed with a beautiful Jewish community,
Mm-hmm.
safety, just ticking off every box, great Jewish day schools, Jewish summer camps, community of friends, like-minded values, a real commitment to Israel. So it wasn't even part of my narrative, but Todd really built a case and we jumped and haven't looked back. It's been a real blessing.
Incredible, incredible. That community mindedness that you grew up with, that your family instilled within you, the sense of volunteering and giving back to others, how has that looked like since October 7, as a result of so much of our world being turned upside down, and as it continues to be, um, what needs did you see within your community, and what have been the volunteer opportunities that you have found yourself participating in and also helping to lead?
Wow. Well, the needs sometimes feel overwhelmingly insurmountable.
Hmm.
And I have moments where my day I just find myself sighing a lot. And I think that I'm getting two steps ahead, and then I didn't see something in my blind spot of a whole other area of sensitivity and thoughtfulness. But I would say from the second the news landed, again, I live in a community of Olim, of new immigrants that moved here in various stages and from various places. There's the South Africans, the Australians, the Brits, the Canadians, the Americans, and mixed with the Israelis as well. But this need, number one, to cook and to just be hands-on and to cook, and food, as you know, for the person who's doing the cooking to deal with the angst and the nerves, and the receiver. So and just recognizing that people immediately were displaced and that they were uprooted from home, which I think is such a fundamental value here in Israel, this notion of home and family. And when that's broken, people flood in. And you know, it's this not asking questions, not waiting for invitations, not waiting to be asked, but just go and just do. And so the cooking was like stage one. Unfortunately, the Shiva visits
Hmm.
was overwhelming. And now it's the farmers whose crops are ready. The
Right.
olive oil needs to be made. The persimmons need to be picked. The eggplants, which is like such a fundamental food here, need to be picked. I just last week seeded the plants for the strawberries. So, you know, it's this whole cycle of life that life wants and so badly needs to move forward, but they don't have any of the workers. You know, many of them fled.
Right.
So it's been this pioneering spirit of, through WhatsApp groups, of just who can pick up, who can, you know, dig strawberries, who can, you know, do the cucumber vines. I mean, I've had such an education of appreciation of how handheld every fruit and vegetable in this country is,
Hmm.
and how many variables are at play. But it's just a metaphor of just what it really does take a village, and people are just doing. They are busy doing. Nobody is thinking, and it's the act of just showing up for someone who's just, you know, it's obvious. And it's a very small country, and we have social media, and thank God we have WhatsApp. So the information is just flying.
Right. Um, you mentioned Shiva visits. I think that one of the things that has struck me has been the number of strangers whose homes I have visited simply because they're sitting Shiva. And this is a tragedy that touches every community. There's no community that it doesn't touch. And previously, I would go to a Shiva house because I have a connection with that person who's sitting Shiva. And I think it's quite rare that I've gone to any Shiva home where I knew nobody and did not have any connection with the family. Could you speak a little bit? Because I don't think, to the fullest extent, those who are listening to this realize what going to Shiva homes is in Israel right now. Can you speak a little bit to that point?
Well, I would argue that the whole country is in a state of Shiva, and
Mm.
the whole idea of the Shiva house. And I agree with you that a Shiva house is, I mean, I'm someone who's sat Shiva. I've gained sensitivity to the power and
Mhm.
the strength and the sense of community at its most basic place that a Shiva provides. And everybody is hurting here right now. I mean, just talking about it, I'm emotional. Um, everybody is in pain. Everybody is not even 1 degree. It's like a quarter of a degree. Like we are so intertwined with one another here that it's just what your body just goes to do. It's just what it's wired to do. We are wired to be with one another. I see it.
Mhm.
I mean, yes, the restaurants are open to your cafes, but you see groups, people huddling, needing to process, needing to hug, needing to touch. And the Shiva embodies this. I mean, how they knew so many years ago that this was the most natural, the most therapeutic way to deal with grief, and then recognizing the stages when you need to be tight, and then you can gradually, get your wings and stand again. But this is what this country is built on. It's the strength of the huddle, the strength of community, and that we're not in this alone, and the power of showing up to a stranger. I mean, many people have come to Israel. They feel, when they get on the bus and they see the Shabbat Shalom, and they
Right.
just feel this oneness.
Mhm.
So this is magnified to another level of vulnerability, but thank God we have this practice, and this country is built on this practice. Whether you're religious or you're not religious, you are huddling, you are together, and you are holding one another.
That's very powerful. I like that. I like that a lot. I want to come on to the second thing you said, which was really profound. You said that the farmers who need so many extra hands helping them, and there is the harvest season, and then there is the reseeding for the next season. You said that that was actually a metaphor for not just the farming community, but for the country. I want to ask you practical steps for those who are listening to this, for those who are asking the central question, what can we do? Because this is the only question that those, especially in the diaspora, those whether they're in Montreal or Canada or wherever they may be, what can we do? What practical volunteering opportunities are there? What practical advice can you give? And what can you share with those who are asking the question at the moment?
Well, I'd go back to the huddle again, because it's a pretty lonely place right now with all the hate and the evil that is being fed through our social media and our news outlets and our newspapers. And I think the greatest antidote to that is to be with one another and set up opportunities to come together as a community. That is our fight. That is our winning formula of why we're still here. And whether you come around through prayer or you come, a lot of people here, we're having sing-alongs, like literally it's like
Really?
singing. And some people come, they, after Shabbat, and they say, come in our backyard and pull up a keter chair and
Mhm.
a guitar player. And some people are singing, some people are just closing their eyes. Some people are just coming for community because it's too much to bear alone.
Right.
And so whatever it is, that brings you together, whether it's doing yoga together or cooking together or doing a challah bake or knitting scarves for soldiers right now. It's getting cold here.
Right.
These gestures of kindness, I think, it's never mind, we're all focused on what we're giving outwards, but it feeds us and strengthens us as a community. And you may not have rockets at you, but you have other armor that's coming at you that
Mhm.
you need to fortify yourselves. And I think the fortification is looking to your neighbors and looking to your community and to come together and really share and be vulnerable and to get active. And I have to say, I am so moved by the crazy stream of texts and emails. Are you okay? Are you safe? And it didn't just happen October 7th. It keeps happening. I don't know if they have alerts on their phones.
Hmm.
I don't care. I'm privileged to be in someone's alert, because some days are really bleak.
Right.
And it feels very, at times, very isolating, and that a lot of things are pointing And I'm sure you guys are feeling that as well in Montreal. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. It's not the Montreal I left, and it's scary, and it will pass. It will get better, but you need to come together and to channel that energy into the doing. And when my mother used to say, you'll always feel better doing something for someone else, and that will take you out of whatever funk you're in. And sometimes the hardest step is taking the first step outside your door, but you'll never regret that first step. And so I share that Razism with you. My mother of blessed memory had a lot of wisdom and lived by doing 3 mitzvahs a day. And it wasn't about money. It was about acts of kindness. So it was her winning strategy while she was very sick. And I really feel that we are all sick as a Jewish people right now. We will prevail. We will fight. Nobody is giving up, and we have a super strong army, and the families here are incredibly resilient. And this will pass. But we need to hold on to one another, and we need to do. And so you asked me what to do. Whatever it is in your reservoir of kindness, whether you knit or you cook or you write letters or you petition or you rally or you call somebody who's isolated, very simple gestures is what will keep us whole.
I am reminded as I'm listening to you of a study that was published last year that said that when a person received a text message saying, "Hi, how are you?" It was the smallest possible text message. A majority of responders who were then polled said that they started to feel better when they knew that someone was thinking about them and took a step to reach out and ask how they were doing.
Yeah, I
We
agree.
oftentimes underestimate the small act of kindness. And we think, oh, it's nothing, or it's a drop in the bucket, or what could it possibly achieve? I think your message today is a fundamental message. An act of kindness doesn't have a limit to its size. It can be the smallest act of kindness. It still can make ripples that make a difference. And I really, really appreciate that message. It resonates with me personally. And I think that that is a beautiful message for everybody that is listening today. Shawna, thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate the fact that you made time for this interview. And we thank you for your message. We thank you for your update in terms of what's happening on the ground. I hope that many people come to your back garden for that Motzi Shabbat sing-along. And truly a very powerful message. And we have so much appreciation. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you for having me. Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Bye.